everyone. My name is Mike Bowers. I'm the Center Director for the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College. I want to welcome you to this edition of Small Business Breakthroughs. This is a session where we talk to individuals that are entrepreneurs or work with entrepreneurs, a lot of experience in supporting small business owners, and kind of to have some conversations and some discussions that we feel that will help those that are in the game now working on their entrepreneurial ventures. So thank you for everyone who's participating today. Want to let you know also that if you want to go and check this out after the event, we are also putting all of these sessions on our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and search Ohio SBDC and make sure that you find the SBDC from Columbus State Community College, but you'll find all of our sessions on our YouTube channel. In addition to that, you'll also be able to find a number of other sessions that we have done. So we have a loan packaging session on there. We have what we call our small business clinics. So we have, I think we currently have an HR session up there. We usually have like a session with an attorney talking about structural issues and different things of that nature, as well as a number of other things. And we also have information on there regarding our Kiva program, which Kiva is what I like to think of as one of the true microloan programs in Central Ohio, where you basically can go and work to secure funding, get that funding put into a loan form at a 0% interest rate, and be able to kind of have some support for your business. The Kiva program does not focus on traditional credit scores and credit metrics. It does work on more of a social credit. So that's basically you connecting with your network to get support for that. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And we also have things on business certification and a number of other things. So that YouTube channel is really valuable, and I would encourage you to go check that out. Also want to make sure that everyone is aware that our next Small Business Breakthrough will be September 28th. That is a Wednesday at 11:30, and that will be our first anniversary show. So we are going to be bringing back TJ Evelyn, who is the founder of SBC Small Business Advising. He was our first guest, and we'll be bringing him back to kind of see what's happening over the past year with him, and bring some other input for you guys. So what we're going to do today is we will go and have a conversation with our guest, with Chaz Freutel. But if you have questions, go ahead and put those questions into the chat. I'll be monitoring that, make sure we bring those questions up. And Bruce Walters also is here. He will be be monitoring that too. So we'll make sure you get your questions, but don't hesitate to put your information into the chat, and don't hesitate to ask questions as you want. So I think this will be an interesting program. I've known Chaz for a number of years, and if you are familiar with the Small Business Breakthrough programs, you get to see Chaz pretty much every month, because Chad is the director of the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, who is our partner in this venture. And as a matter of fact, I am at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center today. And so we always have Chaz on, but today is a little different because we're going to have Chaz on, and we're going to talk about the deck a little bit, but we're going to talk about some other things that Chaz is involved in. And I think that you'll find some really interesting information here today. So with that, Chaz, I want to welcome you to the session.
Mike, it's a privilege as always. The Small Business Development Centers has been a fantastic partner, one of the original partners in the creation of the deck back in 2009. when actually the deck opened its doors. We're in our second location. The first location is now where Ohio University's campus is in Dublin, and SBDC has a location there as well in supporting that campus and the education that's going on there as well. But the deck for the last 8 years or so has been a new location at Metro Place, just inside 270. And we're very honored and privileged that we host well over 100 businesses there that call the deck home. So we have hotspots and cubicles and fully furnished offices and whatnot for those that want to run their offices in a nice community environment where people can walk right out their office door and have, people that can help them find employees, their IT support, their marketing support. So we have such a great variety of outstanding businesses that over 60% of our tenants work with at least one other tenant in the facility. And that's a great benefit that really I don't think you can find anywhere else. So we're just very privileged to keep the deck going strong. It was the first entrepreneur center in Central Ohio outside of what was called then Tech Columbus, now Rev One Ventures. And now there are a number of others. We've got over 50 co-working companies all over Central Ohio, which is outstanding. We've roughly a handful of other entrepreneur centers, and there is a difference between them as well. And we're just excited that we were kind of at the forefront of creating that. And of course, that was City of Dublin. City of Dublin had that foresight, and we're still operating strong. So, but it's great always being a part of this event, Mike, and just hearing some great insight from business owners, and privileged today to do a little bit of sharing on my own. So thank you for all those that have joined today, and others that will be joining in and listening to the recording.
Great, thank you. I want to just talk for a little bit longer about the deck, about centers like this. You mentioned, there's a difference between co-working spaces and entrepreneurial centers, and I agree with that 100%. So talk a little bit more about what you see as the value for individuals, because, well, I think when a lot of people think about these types of things, they think about, okay, well, it's office space. They kind of look at it more as a co-working type of thing. And they think, well, I don't need an office, so, why would I even go to someplace like the deck? And obviously with COVID, things have changed, over the last few years. And we mentioned before we got on today that, there's some things that, we'd like to do, some things that kind of get back to expanding some of the training and some services and stuff like that. But talk a little bit more about what you see as a value, and why people, even if they don't necessarily need space right now, should come here and have a conversation with you.
It's a great opening question, Mike. Back when the deck was created in 2009, there were no co-working spaces. There were no other entrepreneur spaces in Central Ohio, but there were in other cities, Chicago, New York, some of the even larger cities than Central Ohio, had those types of opportunities. Entrepreneur centers are typically tied to universities and cities. Okay, they're usually created by, sponsored by, and oftentimes are part of the university or a city. Okay, so they're funded by a city or a university. Actually, the deck is unique in the fact that we were created by the City of Dublin, but there's no direct relationship between the City of Dublin and the deck. The deck is not part of the city. Actually, the deck it doesn't even exist. We rent space, and the tenants that are tenants of the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center pay directly to the landlord that owns the space. And the deck doesn't exist. The deck isn't a 501c3. It isn't a business. It's a mission statement, and obviously a great one for being around as long as we have, and as successful as we have. But in that way, we're unique. So the City of Dublin does not control directly the deck. I'm a contractor for the deck. My business Get-U-Connected is a contractor of the city, is a contractor of the space that we're in to provide the services that we do. Other communities in Central Ohio, the Entrepreneur Centers are more typically part of the city, part of a university. And so the funding, whether it's federal or state or wherever the funding comes from to operate that Entrepreneur Center, comes through a university or the city to do that. The city of Dublin is a sponsor of the DEC, and they're an outstanding sponsor. But there again, they have no direct control of what's done. They put contractors into place like me, and we fulfill the mission that they see for what's offered, and we're very proud to be able to do that. I started my business at the beginning of 2009, and the DEC opened a month after I started my business. I had a very good friend of mine who actually is a tenant of the DEC right now, who sent me a note and said, Chaz, you might want to go attend this event. The city's putting on an event, and they're opening some kind of a center of some kind, and you might want to go there. And I went and fell in love with the concept, and I became the third tenant of the DEC. Rev 1 Ventures, or Tech Columbus at that time, was tenant number 1. Okay, so they actually had a physical location at the original DEC. And then there was another gentleman who owned his own business that was tenant number 2. So I was tenant number 3. We have since 2009 have graduated 185 businesses from the DEC. Okay, and just a little stat on that: 93% of them are still in business, which beats the tar out of the national average of success of businesses. So we're very proud of our businesses that have graduated and the success that they have had. And over 30% of those businesses are still residing in the Dublin area, which is great, obviously, for Dublin. But there again, we've fluctuated today from anywhere from 120 to 160 businesses that we host. To our knowledge, we're one of, or the largest entrepreneur center in the United States, based on how many businesses that we host in that regard. And getting back to part of your initial question or thought too, kind of what's the difference between an entrepreneur center and they're again a co-working type of space is, again, as I stated earlier, usually entrepreneur centers are parts of cities or universities and have very specific missions. Okay. To improve entrepreneurship, those kinds of things in the geographic area, attract businesses to that area, to help the economy, to help economic development, those kind of things in the area, and help to develop more successful businesses. So, roughly 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first, 5 years. The city wants to see that percentage go much higher of ones that are successful. Okay. And so they help to create entrepreneur centers like the DEC so that we can be there to help businesses get started correctly, host them so that we're helping to provide resources to what they're doing. The Dublin Entrepreneurial Center is very affordable, in Class A building space, very affordable. And we include Wi-Fi, we include printing, we include phones, we include conference rooms, and that's all included in the moderate fees that we charge for space. And so the city of Dublin wanted to create an environment where businesses could thrive, have a low barrier of cost entry, but then be surrounded by organizations that can love on them. And SBDC and Rev 1 and SCORE and you name many organizations in Central Ohio that are affiliated with the DEC that come and love on our tenants and love on businesses that just need help. So you don't have to be a tenant at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center to come in and get help. And I usually help somebody first, maybe an hour of sitting down and understanding what their needs are, help to connect them, help to give them advice. And then 9 times out of 10, I'll say, hey, you know what? Your next step needs to be this. And then I'll refer them on to SBDC. Or your next step needs to be this, and I'll refer them on to an attorney or an accountant or marketing or whatever I see is really where their needs are from a professional or help standpoint, and help get them on the right track so they can overcome the barriers that most other businesses fail from. And we can help to prevent that. But the co-working places and the other entrepreneur centers in Central Ohio, I believe, are fantastic. To have an ecosystem in Central Ohio that is going to be successful in helping entrepreneurs to get started, you've got to have that kind of ecosystem. So whereas some people may say, boy, that's competition to us. Sure it is, to a degree. But hey, you know what? I would rather see 1 million new businesses get created in Central Ohio through that ecosystem, and have Central Ohio just grow and create more jobs and those kind of things, than try to hold on tight to what we have in Dublin. So it's exciting to see what Central Ohio is going through, that we're getting more investment dollars that are coming in our way. And that just means more jobs in the future, more options for our kids, more options for our grandkids, more options for our businesses to have more clients out there to be able to service. So I think it's great. I think Central Ohio is doing a fantastic job. And if it weren't for organizations like SBDC and others, we wouldn't be where we are today. So congratulations again to you, Mike, and what you've done here in Central Ohio.
Great. Thank you. I think I want to move on because you've got some really interesting entrepreneurial stories and some information to share. But I do want to mention, one of the things I think has really made the deck successful from the beginning is having this public-private partnership, to be able to, it's not just controlled, like you said, by, a public municipality or something like that. It's working with, a private sector entity. Now it's working with Dark Points, who has a data center here, and it allows some flexibility, to do what is needed, especially as the economy starts to shift or we start to have things. So this public-private partnership, kudos to the city of Dublin, Dana McDaniel, the team over there, to have the foresight to think about this. And, when you talk about competition, you mentioned the 8 out of 10 businesses failing. If we can take that number down to even just 6 out of 10 failing, that increases the number of businesses that are available. And if that means that, we have a lot more support to do that, then that's great. So again, encourage everybody to check out the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. It's a great source of information and support. And, don't hesitate to reach out to Chaz as it relates to that. So I want to move into the official guest part. So that was kind of the deck guest part. Now the official guest part with Chaz. So you mentioned starting your entrepreneurial business, Get-U-Connected, in 2009. I first became aware of you. I don't know if we actually met when you were at the chamber, Columbus Chamber, but and then obviously when you moved into the deck, we were working with Rev One there too. So over the years, so you've been, like I said, an entrepreneur for a number of years now. I mean, what are some lessons that you have learned, through this journey from, the first day that you're an entrepreneur to where you are now, really as a successful serial entrepreneur?
Well, I think that's the most important question, when anybody is starting a business, and it comes down to clarity. And SBDC has a great program, BizStart. Rev One has a program. There's other organizations certainly have programs, but those are two that are very successful. And SBDC's is open to anybody that's starting a business. Rev One's more limited to who they will allow to go through their class, and has to kind of fit their small lane of businesses that they're looking at. So SBDC is just a great source for that. But clarity is just understanding truly what you are providing to your client. And then who is your market? Those are the two most important questions when you're getting a business started, that has to be answered. And as an owner or a partner or a key figure within your organization, you've got to be able to answer that simplistically. Okay. You need to be able to answer that in 30 seconds. All right. And what I see in people coming into the deck and asking for help, I happen to work with 3 entrepreneur centers, but the deck is the biggest and one of my original clients. But I see people that come in all the time, and they may have been in business for 10 years, but they're stumbling somewhere and they need some help, and we're giving them some guidance. And what I see is, I say, hey, tell me about your business. And 5 or 10 minutes later, they give me an answer. And really, in 30 seconds, you should be able to say somebody exactly what you do. Okay. And that just doesn't happen very often. So the majority, I would say 90% of the people I talk to cannot tell me what they do within 30 seconds. Or if they try to, it's not real clear. Okay. And so that's very important. And I know Mike would totally back up on this, and they have specific classes that can help deal with clarity, but you got to really understand what you do. And just because you sell widgets, that isn't necessarily the business that you're in. Okay. That isn't the business that you're in. Selling widgets isn't what you do. Okay. It's, you are providing somebody with convenience. You're providing somebody with security. Whoever your client is, you're providing them with more than widgets. And a lot of times you can get widgets from anybody. Okay. So what differentiates you in providing those widgets? Okay. And that's really what you're selling. Anybody can come in and carpet your house. All right. But it's a lot more as to who you select to be the one who does that. And is it somebody that has many years of experience in laying carpets, so you don't have any problems with that carpet bunching up or having other issues? Okay. A newbie at that, might not be as good at that. Okay. So it's the differentiators that really can set you apart as far as being in business. And that's where clarity comes from, and being able to communicate with a potential client of exactly what you do that's different, than anybody else that's out there. Okay. And so that's where the clarity part, comes from. And then it's who's your market. And too many people, I know Michael backed this up too, he hears from business. Too many people say, well, everybody buys carpet, right? Everybody does. Well, no, not everybody does buy carpet. And if you're providing some unique services, some unique whatever, then you have to identify who is going to buy your unique service over somebody else. If somebody typically is buying on price, but you're a high quality product or service, then you don't want to be targeting people that are just looking out for the least expensive product. You're looking for people that want quality. You're looking for people that are willing to pay a little bit more for that and understand the difference. Okay. And so that's a different market. Okay. And understanding and having clarity and then knowing exactly who your market is really sets you above everybody else. And that's then what you put into a business plan. And that business plan is your roadmap to success. And so again, 90% of the people that come in that I talk to don't have clarity and a fully explicit understanding of who their market is really delivered to. And because of that, that's one of the main reasons why 8 out of 10 businesses fail after a period of time, is really understanding those two things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything that you said is right on. I mean, this is what we talk about a lot in our base startup class for individuals that are thinking about starting, and pre-venture folks in BizStart, and really in the advising. I mean, it's really trying to understand that market, understand your customers, and really everything you do within your business has to be focused on those customers. And yet at a great point that there is a differentiation between the product and the business. And your story about folks coming in and taking a while to get to the point of what they do or what the business is, so many, especially back in the day when I did a lot more work with technology companies and things of that nature, so many folks come in and it's really all about the product, and really that's a focus on them. The product, they like the product, they're connected to the product, they feel that the product can make a difference, but they really got to be able to take and create that, really identify the problem and the solution associated with how that product is going to mesh within their market and customer base. So that is a critical piece when you're thinking about starting or being and growing a business. I mean, I think that you could have, and you probably saw this, businesses have been around for a number of years. In 2020, when the economy kind of shut down and the pandemic and different things of that nature, there was a lot of companies that had to make shifts based on, market shifts. And if they didn't, they were going to have problems. And it wasn't so much that, the economy shut down and changes. It was because they weren't able to adapt or weren't willing to adapt.
Let me give you a great example of that, Mike.
Yeah.
The Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, and some of our guests today might be familiar with this organization, but the Connected Networking Group, okay, created by Chris Borja, okay, who actually started his business at the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center many, many years ago. And he came into town, and basically he was a rep for Legal Shield. And that was his business. He was a rep for Legal Shield. And I subscribed right away because I knew that, I needed somebody to look at contracts every once in a while, or just some legal advice, here and there on some things. And it was an inexpensive subscription on a monthly basis. And he did a good job of promoting that. But, he had speech difficulties, and he had some, he's introverted and those kind of things. And he really didn't, he had to adapt and learn how to really go out there and sell his services. And so he started kind of his own networking program at the deck called Dublin Area Networking Group, or DANG. Okay. And it became very large, and weekly events that he would have there. And, he'd get 50, 100 people that would come in, and he would teach people how to network based on how he learned how to do that himself, and through other events that he had attended. Well, that just grew out of the deck. Okay. And now Connected Networking Group, you can find events daily, almost throughout the whole month, daily events that are going on somewhere. And we are privileged to still host one the second Tuesday of every month at the deck. But he's in every cohatch, and he's in many facilities around Central Ohio where his events are being hosted. And so that was a pivot from the beginning of what he started, of just himself trying to promote and sell the service that he was representing, to being able to become a master of networking himself. Okay. Then when COVID hit, you couldn't have events anymore. Okay. So his business would have completely shut down because he wouldn't have been able to gather small groups of people to be able to continue selling his core business, which was the Legal Shield. So actually, he went out and signed with an organization that provided an outstanding platform for online events. And he still is doing this today, even though more and more events are going back to being open and on site. But he set up where City of Dublin, City of Columbus, large organizations and events were utilizing his platform to have events where hundreds of people, upwards of 1,000 people would attend, okay? But it would be all online. But it would look like you're in an event. So you're actually sitting at a table. You're seeing other people that are sitting at your same table through this it's an amazing platform. And so he was able to pivot to be able to keep his business going. He still uses that platform, still uses it, because a lot of people still see the value in utilizing Zoom or other platforms to do events, just to be more efficient, sometimes more cost effective, those kind of things. But he's obviously getting back to the live events again, or has been. But he was able to pivot, and that's what's brilliant. And that's where you sit back and you go, wow, that's somebody you want to get to know. That's somebody that has that kind of mind of hey, here's my issue. Do you have any thoughts about what I could do to solve? And and that's where the kind of people that you want around you that can help solve those kind of problems. Because who knows what the next issue is going to be? Hopefully we don't have anything close to COVID, but who knows what the next issue is going to be in your business, in your industry, so that you can pivot and be able to be successful through whatever issue that is. And we're just very proud of Chris Borja and his business and what he's been able to do. But we have so many like that got through COVID at the deck. And some of the things obviously we were able to help with or connect people to or whatever, but a number of them did it on their own. They just sat back with their team, with their advisors, with their board, whoever it was, and they came up with new solutions to make sure things that happened. And so I'm so proud of that, really, to my knowledge, since COVID started, to my knowledge, we only had 2 businesses associated with the deck that went under. Okay. And so we were very proud of that. We helped people get funding that was available through the government, through the banks. we help people in many ways in those areas. And so we're very proud that really only 2 of our businesses that I'm aware of actually closed their doors. That's a great statistic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about you and the fact that as we're speaking, I think you still only own 8 businesses. Is that accurate?
Only 8?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah,
talked
I'm
to you
up
in a
to 8
week,
now,
so I
yeah.
don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
you bought something recently, but you own 8 businesses, and a lot of folks, I'm assuming a lot of folks that are on here, are having, trying to figure out, how to deal with their own. I mean, how do you go about, how did you get to the point where you kind of are involved in so many different things, and how do you kind of balance all of that?
It's a good question again. And I'm just wired differently. It's an understanding of what your skills are. I've always been a ball juggler. I've always just been somebody that was gifted to be able to do 2 things at the same time. Not necessarily perfectly, okay? I'll admit to that, not perfectly, but I've always been somebody that could juggle some balls, okay? And didn't even really recognize that until, probably about 5 years ago. So I've been in business for a while and even started dabbling and maybe doing some other things, but didn't really realize that was a gift. I'm a man of faith, so a gift that I've been given by God, to be able to do some unique things. And so when I truly realized that was something that I was able to do, I gained more confidence, and that's when I really started to be open to being more entrepreneurial. It's one thing to be a solopreneur and you can operate one business, okay, and hopefully successfully. It's another thing to be an entrepreneur, which means that you have multiple locations of a business or a franchise that you've started with your business, or owning multiple businesses. That's really what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is not a side hustle, or when you start one business, own one restaurant or what. That's not an entrepreneur. Okay. You could be an entrepreneur and you just haven't, become more of an entrepreneurial, but most people are solopreneurs at best. And so back when I started my business, I was definitely a solopreneur. All right. And it's not till more recently when Gino Wickman, who many of our audience, and I know Mike, who Gino Wickman is, who's the creator of EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and Traction. And most of your major companies in the United States operate under that operating system. Brilliant operating system, okay? Well, Gino sold that a few years ago and created a new book that he wrote called Entrepreneurial Leap. And Entrepreneurial Leap basically teaches you, you got the book, thank you. I'm traveling right now, I'm in Texas, so I didn't bring the book with me. But Entrepreneurial Leap is one of those great books that basically tells you whether or not you're an entrepreneur or not. And back in 2009, you go through a test and you answer some questions and you rate yourself in various ways. And basically at the end of that, you're scored. And if you fall below a certain score, you're not an entrepreneur. And in 2009, I would not have been an entrepreneur. I would have scored too low on risk. I would have scored too low on some of the other factors that I would not have been an entrepreneur. It took time of me gaining confidence, me gaining experience, me gaining a lot of things. Whereas, 5 years ago, I started saying, you know what? I love what I do, but, I'm interested in some other things. And that's where some of those other business opportunities started to come along. So, as I'm partners now in 8 businesses, most of the businesses I don't solo own, they're partnerships with others who I've met, was excited about the opportunity. And we've obviously got some very successful businesses now that are operating, and I'm looking for more. It's the reason why I'm in Texas right now, and in Dallas, we're looking to invest in another company. But more importantly, not just invest in this particular company, but we're looking to create 2 new companies that can support the company that we're getting to invest in. So by investing in this company, we can create 2 businesses in Central Ohio that will support the company we're investing in. So that's entrepreneurial, okay? It's not just a return on investment, which looks to be good with this best business that we're investing in, but the businesses that we can create to support that business is really what I'm excited about. But there again, I never would have done that 7 years ago or before. I just didn't have the confidence or the, willing to take the risk or anything like that in doing that. And that comes with time. It comes with time. And so now I would consider myself to be an entrepreneur. I score either a 98 or a 99 on the test that tells you whether or not you would be an entrepreneur. And, back in 2009, I would have scored at best in the mid 80s. Okay. So a big gap from where I was some years back to where I am now. And there again, that's spending time with you, Mike, and your team and listening to, helping others or attending your events. That's helping others along the way to become better at their business, and just listening to how people solve problems and the things that they, had to overcome, and finding out who can help you solve it's having the right team around you. It's having the right attorney, the right accountants, all those right pieces that are surrounding your business that that you can be comfortable because others can help you through those hurdles that you come on. So I don't know how many businesses I'll own into the future. I just turned 60 in the last month. I'm not stopping. So I'm not looking at retirement at all. I just want to keep providing more and building a legacy of businesses that can survive and help our community, and be able to give back in helping other businesses and supporting charities and things like that. So that's what's exciting for me.
Absolutely. So one of the things I liked that you mentioned is being open to opportunities, and you mentioned, it took a while to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And for, folks that are, watching this, that are here today or on YouTube, one of the things that we often tell people, especially at early stages, if you're your first company, you're doing this for the first time, don't get overly distracted. You hear the story about, they're going along and then somebody says, hey, well, you should do this. And then they kind of shift off, and then they don't do that well, and they don't do the other well. Because you mentioned it before, but I just want to kind of clarify, as an individual goes along, at what point do you think they should be open to other opportunities? One. Two, you mentioned the scoring and the entrepreneurial leap, and really trying to determine, what are you? Are you an entrepreneur that is looking for these types of opportunities that can look and do this, or are you maybe a business owner that may have a great business and maybe moving that forward, and maybe has a couple of different locations and things like that, but they're not necessarily the same thing. And I think people get confused because I think we interchange and use the terms all the time, because if you say, which you've told me before, I don't know if I believe it, but 5-6 years ago, maybe you weren't in that entrepreneurial space, and now you are much more an entrepreneur. And I think that part of that, and I agree with you, I think that some of that is inborn, and some of that I think you either learn or you bring out of yourself. So maybe you do only, some people are entrepreneurs, some people aren't, and maybe you don't think you are, but you have it in you, you just haven't brought it out. So talking about, briefly about that, because I want to get in and start talking about some youth entrepreneurship stuff, but talk about, your thoughts about when you should maybe start thinking about being open to other opportunities.
That's another great question. And really it comes down to, and I have one of my partners who's a real numbers guy, okay, and a serial entrepreneur, and his name is Rob Kopp. And actually he worked for the Attorney General some years back, and he was getting ready to leave that position with the state of Ohio, and just happened to get in contact with him at about the same time, introduced him to the deck. He came to the deck, got a space, and then helped him to find some clients, and he is where the deck is now. Metro Data Center was the original owner of the space that the deck is currently in, and there's a multi-million-dollar data center in the middle of that. And he always wanted a data center, so we helped him with that. But he was already a serial entrepreneur. I wasn't back then. Okay, so he was a mentor of mine. Okay, so every one of you that's listening that needs to have a mentor, needs to have somebody that can be, part of your guardrails, so that when you start straying a little bit, that guardrail's tight, especially in the early days of your business. That guardrail should be tight. Okay. And Rob uses the word swim lane a lot. Stay in your swim lane. When you're an early business, okay, and you don't have a lot of experience yet, confidence, whatever, even though you may know you're entrepreneurial, stay in your swim lane until you have developed that business to where you can step away from your business and it will run without you. When you can step away from your business and it can run without you, that's when you can start taking on new opportunities, okay? Or start growing that business and turn it into a franchise, or start growing that business and adding locations. A lot of businesses fail. They have a very, very successful first restaurant. Everybody loves going there. Everything is great, great ratings, the whole 9 yards, where a lot of businesses fail when they open up that second location, okay? And they're not ready for it. They think everything is going to be the same from one location to the next, and trust, anybody. Rarely is that the case. You're going to run into different issues, different problems, different clientele, whatever it might be, and then boom, both businesses fail because the new one pulls too many resources from the old one down, and you end up failing apart. And that's just one example. So stay in your swim lane, okay, until you've got it down. You've got all the partners around you. You've got the right legal. You got the right accounting. Everything is moving along. You've got money set aside for a rainy day. You've got, all those kind of things are in place. Then, go out and start looking for something else that might be your next dream, or your next great idea, or a buddy that you hear from that's got an idea, and hopefully it's in the same pool. Hopefully your other idea is in the same pool or a swim lane, same swim lane, or a swim lane right next door, so that you're not doing something completely different, that you're needing to learn a whole new set of skills that maybe takes you too far away from, your current business that's successful. Okay. So that's just what I see is try to stay in your swim lane as long as you can before you can step away. And it's not easy to step away from your business. That means you've had to bring in other people that can help run that business without you, or you've become so efficient at what you're doing with your business that you can step away. And that's what happened to me. And really, there again, the Lord kind of slapped me right in the face. A young 18-year-old happened to attend a DANG event, a Chris Borja event, Dublin Area Networking Group event at the deck. And that young man came in and introduced me to the car business. And now 4 of my 8 companies are in the car business. Okay. But it was this kid, 18-year-old kid, a sophomore at Ohio State University, that came in that I met one night at a DANG event. And now I'm involved in a $100 million car business, exotic rental, a dealership, a used car dealership in Powell, and a wholesale company, and another company that helps people to find cars. So those are 4, and we're looking at more. So we're looking at actually more. We might start a dealership down here in Dallas, okay, and other things that we're looking at too. So you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself, and how you'll recognize it is when you're ready to recognize it. Otherwise, usually it'll just kind of go right past you. But when you're ready, and your mind is ready, your body's ready, your skills are ready, everything's ready to where you can say, I can step and now start working on this new opportunity. And you'll know. And a lot of people fail because they keep jumping around and trying to do things before they're ready. And that's where mentors come in. That's where sitting in front of a Mike Bowers, that's where sitting in front of a Rob Kopp, or sitting in front of somebody where you sit down with them and you say, be completely honest with me. And that person says, you're not ready. Or, yes, you're ready, but boy, you better have these other people around you to make sure that you're able to step away or be successful at the other side. So mentors are very important when you're looking to maybe start a second business, or start to grow, or start to do a number of things that take you away from your basic successful core.
Absolutely. So I want to shift into, I mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about youth entrepreneurship. I've been involved in some youth entrepreneurship programs that you've been that started and grown, and I've seen a lot of value for those that are participating, whether they start the business or not. And So kind of talk to me about kind of your evolution with youth entrepreneurship, and kind of where you started with it and where you see it going here in Central Ohio.
Well, our country was founded by entrepreneurs. Okay, our country was founded by people that left home in some country across the pond or whatever, and said, I'm going to go take a risk. I'm going to pull up my family, go to a place that I've never seen before, and plant a stake in the ground, and take my carpentry, take my whatever skill I had, and go there and hopefully make something of myself. Okay, and that's the foundation of our country. People came into a little camp or little town that they created or whatever, and everybody relied on each other for the skills that they brought to the table. And that's where our country came from. And then the Industrial Revolution happened. Everybody started working for somebody else, some big corporation, and our country lost a lot of that basic entrepreneurialism that our country was founded on. I think over the last 10 to 20 years, you've seen a shift to where more people, and schools are playing a role in this, government's playing a role in this, where more people are starting to look at themselves and see if they're entrepreneurial, see if they can do something on their own, rather than just working for somebody else. And there's a lot of factors to that as to why people are looking for alternatives to working for big corporations or other small businesses, rather than just being satisfied doing that. And no need to get into all those other factors, because that'd be another whole conversation. But more people are thinking about that. And the best time to get entrepreneurial experience is when you're in school. Okay, and there's a number of reasons to that. A middle schooler or a high schooler, and yes, I did say middle schooler. A middle schooler or a high schooler can dabble in starting their own business and learning and failing, and being frustrated, and and realizing truly what the mechanics are to being a successful business owner. The beauty of that is they're still living at home. They don't have a mortgage. They don't have a car payment. They don't have a spouse. They don't have a kid that maybe needs to be fed and raised. They're living in a very low risk environment when they're in middle school and high school, and even college. Okay, the best time in the world to start a business, because that way they can dabble in it. They can try new ideas that have been running through their heads since they were watching cartoons at 5 years old. All those ideas can pop out, and they can succeed or fail at them, and they don't have the risks. They don't have the issues that can come in when they get older. Okay. And so the beauty of working with middle school and high school students is because they haven't yet been told no. You can't, that won't be successful. You'll never be able to make that idea succeed. There's nothing but failure in front of you. They don't have anybody that's told them that yet. So they still have that great imagination. They still have those dreams. They still have everything that, in their heads that people haven't beat out of them, to follow the traditional college, work for a big corporation. They haven't been told that necessarily. Okay. And so they still have all that in them to be able to start something that might be successful. And so I was very privileged to be contacted. I also manage the Marysville Entrepreneurial Center in Union County. And the executive director of the chamber and of economic development, Eric Phillips, contacted me one day. He goes, I got this thing in the mail from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce about this program called Young Entrepreneurs Academy, and it's helping middle school and high school students start their own businesses. And, take a look at this for me. I was running the Marysville Entrepreneurial Center, the MEC, for him at the time. And he said, take a look at this for me and see what you think. So I investigated it. I called some other locations that were doing it in the country. And I reported back to him. I said, you know what, this is a pretty interesting program. And I said, I'm passionate enough about what I've learned that I'd be happy to help you put this program together and operate it in Union. And of course, I'm thinking entrepreneur. I'm thinking here's another lane for me to go in and start providing some services. So I'm thinking, hey, this is something else I can do for my business. And he turned around and said, hey, put a budget together for me. Tell me what you need to put this together. And we'll get 2 years of funding in there so that you'll have a launch pad to take off. And now I've been privileged enough to be working with that program now for 8 years. We graduated over 200 students in Central Ohio, middle school and high school students that have started businesses. The unique part of the program is not only do you go through ideation and finalize what your idea is, but also writing a business plan, learning how to give a 30-second pitch to somebody that might ask you about your business and having clarity, pitching to real investors, and actually on the last day of the class, actually file with the state and the federal government, and a 6th grader through a 12th grader have a business fully up and running in the state of Ohio. There's no other program in the United States like it. And so it's a great program, and it's, we've got a number of schools that are participating, a number of great students. Over the years, I've kind of tweaked it. So I've called up the national organization that started Young Entrepreneurs Academy, or YEA or YAY. And I said, hey, this is what I'd like to do with that program. I'd like to tweak it. Okay, Chaz, go ahead. So many times I've kind of gone off track and gone a different direction just to try it, to see if I can improve the program. Well, that's what I've decided to do this year. So actually I called the folks at YAY and I've said, hey, I want to go into a new direction. And, so I am. And right now with Mike and SBDC, we're creating a new platform for what this youth entrepreneurship is going to be here in Central Ohio. And the first event will be October 14th, but then we look to have 2 or 3 of others of those that will offer the same program. And it'll be a 5-step program rather than a 20. The YEA program is very long, big commitment. A lot of students couldn't participate because they were involved in sports or arts or whatever. And I wanted to be more inclusive. So I said, hey, we need a smaller, shorter time frame program. And so that's what we're working with SBDC. We're going to create a new program. And actually YEA said, hey, I kind of like your idea. We're going to watch what you do over the next year, and then they may offer what we're going to do in other parts of the country. So we're excited about what students can do and help them to determine, do they really need to go to college? If they can launch a business by the time they're a senior in high school, do they really need to spend $100,000 plus to go to college when they could just take some online courses? They could come to some SBDC events, some deck events, whatever, learn some of the basic things that they need to help them with their business, and spend that money they would have spent on college in launching a successful business. So that's exciting stuff. And it's been great to have Mike be a teacher. Actually, Mike came in and actually taught classes for us for a while and was part of our judges, was part of our investor panel. Though he's played a lot of roles. And so he knows all about what this program can mean to our youth.
Yeah, it's a great program, and the students were great. And we have something in the chat asking about further information on the 14th event, October 14th event. In addition to that, if individuals are interested in, being part of what this is, whether they can do the 14th or not, because like you said, we're going to do multiples, what should they do? Should they just reach out to you, or is there someplace that they should go to, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's there again because we're recreating this thing, and not all of it's put together. That's kind of me. Okay, I am somebody that starts putting something together before I even have the details down. That's where I need to have other people around me that put the details into place. I'm just hey, here's an idea, let's go try it. When the gentleman Dana McDaniel, who's the current retiring city manager for City of Dublin, but he's been around. He created the deck back in 2000. His idea was back in 2006, I think, to create the deck, and it actually then opened in 2009. As he used to always say, we're building we're flying the deck as we're building it. We're flying the plane while we're building it, and that's kind of the way I'm wired. Okay, I'm more of a visionary than an integrator. So actually, we're putting this October 14th event together, the first event in any one of these first event sessions that we'll have around Central Ohio, or maybe have 3 or 4 of them, will be Entrepreneurial Leap. So that's why I bought into Gino's idea of really understanding whether you're an entrepreneur or not, or a solopreneur, and then the mechanics to determine where you take those next steps. And then the second class is actually SBDC and their Biz Start program, and then the third is working more on your business plan and your speech. Okay, and then the fourth is actually little bit more of that same thing, finalizing your business plan, your speech. And the fifth is actually pitching to the real investors, being awarded some real money, and then launching your class. So we're shrinking 20 to 30 classes down to 5. And so it'll allow more students to participate. But right now, I haven't built a website for it yet, haven't done any of those things. But how you can get a hold of me is by email, or actually going to our local YEA Young Entrepreneurs Academy site, which obviously that'll change because we'll put the new mechanics of this program in that. But that's yeaunioncounty.com. Okay. And so yeaunioncounty.com is where you can go on there and send me a message, or you can send me an email and I'll type that into the chat. But the October 14th event is a bit unique, and I know we're starting to go over time here, but the 14th event is a little unique because it's the east side of Columbus, over where, if you know where Lindsay Honda and Lindsay Acura is, okay, over in Scarborough Boulevard area. It's a very depressed area of Central Ohio. And Central Ohio has put $22 million to focus on revitalizing and strengthening that area. And so this is an event focusing just on that geographic area. So the 14th is our first one, okay, that we'll be offering in these series, but it's the first one. And so their goal is they have a seating theater of 200. They want to fill that theater with people from that geographic area. So at this point, I wouldn't say that somebody that lives in Worthington or other parts of Central Ohio would really be invited to that one, because they really want to focus on helping the people in that geographic area. But reach out to me, and when we schedule our second, third, maybe fourth location of where we'll start these series of 5, we'd love to get in touch with you and talk to you about how you could help us. You might be somebody that could be a great speaker for us, come and help teach a part of what we're teaching. Or if you've got a middle or high school student, at home, or, a friend or whatever, a neighbor or something like that, you might say, boy, this kid should be, in this class. The cool thing too is we're inviting adults too. So you don't have to be a student to be in this program. Whereas the YEA program, you had to be a 6th grader or a 12th grader. We're opening it up and actually being more open, and partnering with SBDC is just a great part of that.
So that kind of leads to one of the questions here. So the question is it just for high school, middle school, which obviously YEA was? Can college students attend and participate as they go along? And I'm assuming that's yes, because you're saying it's
anybody can now. Anybody can. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you can go through this process. It's just traditionally a process that I've done that was involved with students, but this is opened up, and that's why we wanted SBDC to teach some of those classes too, and part of that. So actually, even if some students are in middle school or high school, Ohio Christian University for the last 3 years have actually provided 6 college credits to students that have gone through our YEA program, and so that's something for students that would be involved that are middle school through high school or college age.
Okay, great. So contact points, yeaunioncounty.org, and that is for kind of because it started in Union County, so that's kind of
that's why they kind of branded it theirs, right?
Yeah, so he's gonna do some tweaks there, and then the email you just put up here. So Chaz at Get-U-Connected.com, right?
And it could have the dashes or not. I own both of them now, so
I have dashes in mine, but mine's old. I have an old school address. But so yeah, just do that. Reach out to Chaz about this. Reach out to Chaz about the deck he mentioned. He also is involved with an Entrepreneur Center in Marysville, an Entrepreneur Center in Circleville, and there's a number of other, as he mentioned, entrepreneur centers and co-working spaces. We're involved with the entrepreneur space in Delaware at Ohio Wesleyan. I know you've got some connection there, and we're also involved in the innovated New Albany piece, which again was an entrepreneur center that was started back with Rev One back in the day. So a lot of opportunities, but I encourage you to reach out to Chaz on any of those items, because he's certainly very receptive. What I want to do is I want to close out as we always do, Chaz, just very quickly. For those that are on here, for those that are going to be participating on YouTube, what is like one thing that you would recommend a business owner, whether it be a prospective or, early stage business owner, what would you recommend that they do today? Just one thing that can have some level of impact to them. Because I think a lot of people get wrapped up in, well, I got to do this and I can't do this and it's going to take me 6 months. Well, what do they say? A journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with like a single step or something like that. So what do you think? One thing that they could do today?
I'll give you 3 quick ones.
Okay.
Go back and review your clarity, because even if you get into a business for a while, sometimes that changes. Go back and rework on the clarity of what your business is doing and who you deliver it to. The second thing is my good friend Rob. He said that you've got to schedule time to work on your business, and that could be working on the clarity, not just for your business. Most of the time, you're working for your business. You're actually providing the service, creating the product, whatever. What he did after a friend of his gave him advice is he put Saturdays for his working on his business. Saturdays, Monday through Friday, was working for his business primarily. Saturdays was going in and working on his business. Every Saturday he would do that. Okay. And that's critical to being. The third thing is get yourself a mentor. Get yourself a mentor that knows your industry, or at least knows, the answers to your weaknesses, your primary weaknesses, and let that person help you identify what they are too. But those 3 things, I think if you work on those 3 things, boy, that can completely change the outlook of your future for your business and your income and your family and all those kind of things that go alongside with that.
Great. So thank you. I think that's great advice. And we've had a great session today. Chaz, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all that you're doing for Central Ohio and the work at the deck and along with your other, at least 8 businesses, 8, 9. I mean, you'll have more by the time you get back. So again, thank you for all that you do. Again, want to thank Chaz, want to thank the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center for being a part of what we do here with this particular session. Don't forget that the next one is September 28th. It's at the same time, 11:30. It will be our first anniversary episode with TJ Evelyn. And if you're unable to participate in that, or if you've missed some of the previous sessions, go to our YouTube channel, searching in Ohio SBDC on YouTube, and you can see a lot of different content, a lot of different small business breakthrough sessions. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank everybody for participating. Thank everybody for watching. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot.